What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And this afternoon, folks, I am joined by my good friend Michael D'arcy, who is live from Radio Row at Super Bowl Media Week down in New Orleans. So appreciate him taking time out of his busy day to do some content here on Show Me Football. But Michael, before we get into today's video topic, I just have to ask you, how has it been so far down in New Orleans? Any fun, interesting stories to share just from everything that's been going on?
It's been a fantastic week so far down here in New Orleans. I drove down from Kansas City on Sunday. And for those of you that don't know how long that is, that's 13 and a half hours. So I absolutely made this a trip. Just been getting so much content for the channel, all the interviews and press conferences and my thoughts on the interviews. And so I have not been sleeping much. I've been working really hard trying to get everything posted. But, you know, it is very interesting to see how some of the different players are handling media week. I think, you know, we were talking about how much Kareem Hunt was going to, love being in this moment because he's never been in a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt was over this whole media thing on Monday night, and that is the first night it started. So it is interesting to see some of these players kind of be like, okay, can we just play the game at this point? Because I don't know, Josh, if you've seen it, there's been some reporters that have asked some of the most mindless, brain-numbing questions, and yet my own podcast did not get credentialed for the NFL. So they really do just let anyone in here with an audience.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the people who actually know what they're talking about. So,
yeah, well, I was actually going to talk about that too, because I saw a clip from someone, and I don't know who it was, but I guess they had posted a TikTok, and I had seen the TikTok get posted to Twitter as well. And they were asking Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce about the refs, and I just thought to myself, how do you spend your entire life working up to this moment to be able to cover the Super Bowl just to ask legends of the game such stupid questions that you knew were going to elicit no interesting answer?
Well, and Josh, opening night was so crazy. There was probably I'd say 1,000, 1,200 media members on the field, and they circled off the field. So it was literally just the sidelines and behind the end zones. And so there's a lot of people cramped in this space, and guys are fighting, trying to get interviews left and right. And so the fact that he was able to find a way to, talk to Pat. I don't know if you've seen the line to talk to Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce.
I saw your photo that you posted.
Yeah. It's not just easy to walk up on them and ask them a question. And so the fact that he got up there and asked them something, just to troll them and get engagement, I think it shows, I guess, probably, this is way broader, but it shows you kind of where we're at in our society, that that is something that not only people thought was a good idea, but it's kind of accepted. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I know for sure. And when he asked Mahomes kind of leaned into it a little bit, but Kelce was having absolutely no part of it. He was like, yeah, next question. We're not.
And I'll tell you this, Josh, if I knew where he was, if I knew who asked the question, I'd go over to him and cut his credential off his neck. Cause Josh, you didn't get to go to this event, but that asshole did. So it's just
see, I waited too long. If I had tried a little bit earlier, maybe I could have gone down there, but it's just contingent on so many things, including the Chiefs making the Super Bowl. Yeah. Maybe next year, maybe when they're going for a 4-peat, Michael, we'll try to make it happen. But
absolutely,
we'll have plenty of time to talk about your experience, and we'll definitely have to do another video once you get back before the Super Bowl, in a preview or something like that. Talk more about it. But for today's video topic, I wanted to talk about a conversation that I've seen pop up a lot this week, and this is something that was talked about a lot, I feel leading up to Super Bowl 57 a couple years ago, which makes sense because it's still a lot of the same players and coaches and personnel. But Michael, there's a lot of people out there, and I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast. They were talking about this and his podcast that he does with Cousin Sal, and they insisted that the Philadelphia Eagles just have so many good players everywhere, all over the field, and that they're the better team from top to bottom. They have more talent. So my first question for you, Michael, is do you think the Philadelphia Eagles are more talented than the Kansas City Chiefs?
On paper, with the players that are on their roster, I will say, yes, they probably have the more talented football team, the more talented roster. They've done a good job of building that. But with that being said, I'd counter and say, when has there been a Chiefs team that has had the best roster in the Super Bowl? I don't know if there's been one. And I definitely don't think that there's been one that the Chiefs have won. And I think that while the Eagles might have a better, I guess 53 man, the Chiefs have the best players at the best positions. Like, they don't have a Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the game. They don't have Travis Kelce. They don't have Chris Jones. And they don't have, Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo on their coaching staff. They've got some asshole named Nick Sirianni. So I don't think that is an advantage for them. So, like, yeah, they might not be as talented, but I think that they have the more important and the better players at the key positions. I mean, and it's been a way that they can kind of mask some of their talent deficiencies because they're just better at more important positions.
Yeah, like, I think if you were to make a list of the 10 best players in this game, the Eagles might have like 5 through 10, but the Kansas City Chiefs have more players in the top 5. And that's kind of how it's been for a while. The Chiefs have always had a more top-heavy roster with guys like Mahomes, Kelce, and Jones always heading this thing. I do think, though, that a lot of credit needs to be given to Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, for just being so ultra aggressive over the years, adding talent. And I said before on my Twitter, I think he's a better roster builder than Brett Veach. And that's not as much disrespect to Brett Veach as it sounds like. I just think Howie Roseman is a great GM. You see a lot of the guys that they bring in. I wish the Chiefs would make similar moves, high upside additions like a Mekhi Becton, who's starting at right guard for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. They signed him for dirt cheap. And it feels like having a guy like that in our offensive line room, Michael, may have went a long way when you look at the left tackle struggles that the Chiefs have had, having to start Mike Caliendo at left guard. And then you see that the Eagles, they bring in a guy like that, or Zach Bond, who is a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. They got him for nothing. And I just, and Brett Veach has made a lot of savvy moves as well. And I give him a lot of credit. I mean, like bringing in D-Hop halfway through the season, bringing in Kareem Hunt, those were great moves. But I just think a lot of credit needs to be given to Howie Roseman. And I think, if you were to make a list of top GMs, he may be above Veach, or him and Veach may be 1A, 1B.
I think that's why it's an interesting question because, the Eagles might have a better roster. They might have more players that are better at their position. But like I said, they're not better at the positions that truly matter. And coaching is going to play a huge factor in this game.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs have the advantage on coaching. They also have the advantage at quarterback, tight end. And they've got the best, I would say, the best defensive player in the conference. And you have an argument he could be the best defensive player in the NFL. He's definitely the best defensive tackle. So I think that, and Jalen Carter's great, but I just think that the Chiefs' key players are better than the Eagles' key players.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the biggest matchups in this game, like a Saquon Barkley versus the Chiefs defense, you mentioned the coaching. The Chiefs may not have as much talent all over the place as the Eagles do, especially like the skill positions, but that coaching, man, that coaching advantage. Like, I've seen so many Eagles fans say this week, like, we're going to run away with this game. We're going to win by 14 plus. Like, they're not going to stop Saquon Barkley, but that's just, I mean, Michael, we talked about this before. This Chiefs team does not get blown out. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm not saying it's an automatic layup. They're winning the Super Bowl. They're going to three-peat. But this Chiefs team doesn't get blown out, and they're not going down without a fight in this game, and that's because of the coaching advantage that the Chiefs have in this game. And Spags is going to put his guys in the right position to be able to slow down a guy like Saquon Barkley. And I made this point in a video that I made earlier this week. But I think when the Chiefs are really up to the task, and when it comes to stopping a guy like Saquon Barkley, they can do that. I mean, Derrick Henry is a good example of a guy that, was this big bad wolf for so long for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that 2019 AFC Championship game, it's like they figured him out. And he hasn't been the same Derrick Henry since every time he goes up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think about that a lot when, discussing this matchup with people.
And you know what, Josh? I actually had the opportunity to talk to a player that I absolutely love, and that's Mike Pennell. I asked him about 2019 in the AFC Championship game and the similarities between Saquon and Derrick Henry, and he was kind of like, yeah, like they're similar, but they're also different. They've got different running styles, but I do think that they are equipped to limit Saquon Barkley. I think that he's going to have God, I mean, it might be 200 plus yards rushing and 3 touchdowns in order for them to have a chance. If he's not rushing for at least 150 yards, they're not going to win this football game. Like, I just don't think that Jalen Hurts can put this team on his back. And that leads me to reading this stat from Warren Sharp. He says Jalen Hurts splits when pressured versus when he has a clean pocket are insane. Out of 37 quarterbacks, when pressured, he is 37 of 37 in success rate, 37 of 37 QBs in EPA per attempt, 33 of 37 QBs in sack rate, and then 32 of 37 in QBs in yards per attempt. So I think if Spags dials up the pressure, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is going to be someone that can put the team on his back and beat this Chiefs defense. I do want to pay him some respect, though, because he did look really good in that first Super Bowl, but his health right now is in question.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because looking at this from, that Chiefs defense versus the Eagles offense perspective, and you mentioned the Chiefs being the best at the positions that matter. And I look at Chris Jones versus the Philadelphia Eagles interior offensive line. Cam Jurgens and Mekhi Becton specifically are giving up high pressure rates this postseason. And I think that's a matchup that Chris Jones can exploit. And also the same way that Spags moved Chris Jones out to the edge and made the Bills think that that's the side that they had to protect, the side that Chris Jones is on. And then they bring the blitz from the right side on that 4th and 5 play. That's what iced that game. The gravity that Chris Jones brings as a pass rusher is going to allow Spags and the Chiefs defense to move him around and confuse the Eagles offense. And Spags is going to do what he does best, and he's going to send pressure from all sorts of different places that the Eagles don't see it coming from.
Well, and Josh, one of the great things about being down here in New Orleans and being able to talk to the players and talk to the coaches, I have such a better understanding of how they go about disguising blitz packages. And Steve Spagnuolo told me that Nick Bolton is actually someone who will recognize, deficiencies in the offense and will actually come up with blitz packages mid-game. And he's kind of like, sometimes we use them and sometimes we kind of have to just tell him we're not going to use it. But Nick Bolton is a player that I've kind of changed my mind on, because, this is going off on a tangent, but yeah. I was under the impression that Nick Bolton was a player that the Chiefs are like, thank you for your service, but we don't know if we have a spot for you in the future. And then you hear Joe Cullen, or not, maybe it wasn't Joe Cullen, but someone else saying,
Daly, I think.
Brendan Daly, like, I don't want to live in this life without, Nick Bolton at linebacker. Yeah. So it's like, I think my opinion on Nick Bolton being a cornerstone of this team has completely changed over the last 2 days. And granted, free agency can do what free agency does, but I think he's going to be a priority for this team in the offseason because, Spags loves him. He clearly has not only the trust, but he's got that mind that sees the offense unlike anyone on this defense right now.
Yeah, and I think that just goes back to like coaching and having guys prepared, maybe not even names that you necessarily expect. 2 players we saw have an impact in the AFC Championship, Justin Watson catching that 2-point conversion, and then also, you have Samaje Perine catching that pass to ice the game. And it's just incredible the amount of preparation that goes into these games and just the coaching advantage that the Chiefs have. And also Andy Reid off the bye week.
Andy Reid off the bye week, going up against someone who I think I have unnecessary hate for Nick Sirianni. Maybe he's not as bad as I
don't know. I think he's brought a lot of it on himself, especially after that stunt he pulled during that regular season game 2 years ago.
2 things may be able to be true. You can be a good coach and you can also be an asshole. And he kind of just fits in Philly because he's loud, he's obnoxious, and he kind of fits that fan base. But it's just, I don't know how you look at this game and you say that Kellen Moore has the advantage over Steve Spagnuolo, or that Nick Sirianni has the advantage over Andy Reid. And I've already seen, the Philadelphia Eagles media talk about how the Eagles should go out there and win this game. I'm like, did you guys not just watch what happened in Kansas City and they just beat Buffalo? I think Buffalo's a better team than Philly. I don't think that Philly's taking this Chiefs team as seriously as they should. At least the media is not. I'm sure the team is, but I'm kind of like, dude, that Buffalo Bills game was probably the clash of the Titans, and you guys just get to finish second.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And that's actually something I want to talk about in another video because that's a huge advantage that I think the Chiefs have, but we'll definitely save that for our next segment. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this one here, though, talking about these two rosters, these two teams, how they compare. So, guys, let us know down in the comments what you think. Are the Philadelphia Eagles more talented than the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think it matters? Would love to hear from you guys. With all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com. arrowheadaddict.com. Follow me on Twitter at ShowMeFB. And then, Michael, before we sign off, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me live in New Orleans. No, but you guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's kind of the one-stop shop for everything. You want to hear some player interviews from this week? Definitely go check those out. I mean, I've got just about everybody. I mean, Spencer Schrader, you want to go down the list of, Charles Amenahu and P. Ryan and Pinnell. And we got some bigger names like Spags. And so definitely go check that out. We should have a lot more coming, not only today, but also tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Go and check out Michael's channel. He's absolutely pumping out content right now, live from New Orleans. All of his stuff will be down in the description below. But that's all we got for this one. We will see you guys in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.